We're back. We are here for a special edition of the podcast. Normally we do one a month, but man, we know with two coming up, we just had to do a special podcast for this special day. And it's on a Tuesday. I mean, like, you can't get any cooler than that. And some people ask me, why two? What is this whole thing? I don't understand. And for me, I am all about numbers and seeing numbers in sequence and realizing that these are like, I don't know, the universe's messages to us when we see these numbers. They can mean something if you believe in that spirituality side of the numbers, and the coincidences that happen when you see them often over and over again. And with 222, it's really about being reminded that you are in a shift, a high frequency shift of compassion and love and peace and harmony. And some of it could also be in the sense of finding yourself, your soul self, and that you're on the right path. So a lot of times when I see numbers, I just get really excited. And if I don't know what they mean, I'll always look them up. You can always go and look them up. But to be honest, I've done it so much now that I have them pretty much memorized. But anyways, I thought that this would be a great opportunity to do a special episode podcast of the Soul Shack Sisters, and that is connecting to your inner guru. And today is a special day to do that because, as you're going to find, the portal is open. So if you guys are looking to manifest, if you guys are looking to shift to that higher frequency level, to start seeing abundance manifest in your life in whatever area that is, today is the day. So we had to for sure get this put out so that you guys had this to listen to. Another important part of it for me was going through my spiritual journey and feeling at times that I was alone in it, feeling at times that I was, just a lost soul, that I didn't belong, that I didn't fit in. And I started running to other modalities to try to cope, whether it be working too hard or partying too much or getting involved in too many activities that my mind and body were just always busy, and I never had to be alone with my thoughts. That was the last thing I ever wanted to do, until at one point, I found that drinking was the solution for me. And I loved it because I didn't have to feel, and those thoughts and those things that I would normally obsess about no longer had control over me. And that worked for a while until it didn't. But I realized once I removed the alcohol, it was only a symptom, that there was something deeper within me that I was constantly running from or avoiding. And I was using other things to fill that gap within me. And this podcast is really going to dive a little deeper into connecting to our inner guru, finding that we actually have this inner healer, this piece about us that has all the answers, and that if we're willing to just pause and sit in the dim, sometimes we need to sit in the dim and not be all about love and light, but actually get to the root cause of some of the things that we're avoiding. And I think that COVID was a great blessing in a lot of ways, not to, overlooked a lot of the tragedies that have taken place in people's lives and work and the world. But for those that have kind of gone to the other side of it now and looked at it from a different perspective, we're seeing that there's just this shift that's taking place. And that while we were all in our homes, isolating and doing the lockdowns and all of the things that we had to do, we really had a moment to pause. We were kind of forced to pause. And a lot of us have found that we didn't like what we were sitting with. We didn't like who we were. We were unhappy. And even worse, we didn't know who we were looking at in the mirror. We had this opportunity to be forced to really sit in the dim and figure out what it was that we wanted to do with our lives. And a lot of people are looking now to spiritual healing, spiritual awakenings, and trying to find ways to really shift and connect to their higher self, as we like to call it. And so this podcast is going to go over that and give some ideas and strategies on how to do that. And Travis is just Oh my gosh, he's such an inspiration, such a brilliant soul that I couldn't wait to share him with you. So we're going to get started. We're going to bring Travis on, and I promise you guys this is going to be a podcast you're going to want to listen to from the beginning to the end. But if you can't, you can pause it and come back. I'm still here. Love you all, and I can't wait for this whole thing to start. See you soon. Okay, you guys, here it is, the day we have been waiting for, the moment. We have Travis joining us today. I cannot tell you just how excited I am to have this moment with you. How are you, Travis?
Oh, I'm good, and I'm so excited to be here today with you and all of your amazing listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes, they are so excited. I've been posting a little bit on our Soul Shack Sisters group and on Instagram as well. And everybody's just like, when is it happening? What is this? I'm so excited. So I know they're just like so excited for this moment to finally come. And what better day for it to be than on 2/2/2/2? Like,
We love
wow.
an open portal. We love
Right?
it.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the day to be listening to this message. Connect to your inner guru. So,
Yes.
really quick, I just wanted to share with everyone listening if they don't know already, but I met Travis on TikTok of all places. I was on TikTok and I was doing my daily scrolling around and I saw this presence come about on my screen that was instantly like just infectious. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love him. Like I don't know him, but I love him." And yet I felt like I knew you too. It was crazy. Your messages and what you do is just such a gift and I'm so glad that you are able to share it with all of us. But I had made a comment like, I want to have you on my podcast. And the next thing I know, you're like, tell me when. I'm like, now let's do this. Let's do this. The next thing I know, here we are again. And it shows once again for me about how the universe is always working for us. And that, when you put out that kind of energy and that positive vibrational energy, how things attract to you. And I don't have to go out there and find my people. We find each other just naturally and organically. So I'm just, again, so excited that you're here. And what I was hoping we could start off with is you kind of telling everybody that's listening a little bit more about yourself and how you came about realizing your gift, being a medium and a psychic. I think that's just so awesome. And I know they would love to hear all about it as well.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Ohio, in a town called Dayton. And, I've always known about these abilities that are active within me. It's nothing that I necessarily ever really shared with people because, truthfully, I thought it was kind of normal. Like, I thought that everybody could just kind of sense other people's energy or sense that if a loved one had passed that they were still with us. I never really said anything. I think one day, um you know I was until I was a little bit older where I realized, like, oh, not everybody does this. And so I kept it to myself. I always make a joke. I have a grandmother on my dad's side who's passed, and I always make this joke that, the abilities came about because she used to let me play with a Ouija board, and
Mm.
that's what happened. So growing up, I came out to my family, and my family had a hard time kind of hearing that at first, and so I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to tell them that I can connect with spirits.
Right.
So I think telling them one thing
Right.
was enough. And so that ability is just something I always um suppressed. I didn't necessarily run from it, but I didn't really tap into it either.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of those kids that grew up, I was always told that I was sensitive. I would cry over almost everything. And so some of those kind of like telltale signs that a lot of psychics and empaths
Mm-hmm.
kind of have, um, I just kind of thought it was, at first I thought it was normal, and then I realized it might not be normal. And now where I'm at in my journey, I realize it's completely normal.
Right.
And there's a lot of us
Yes.
out there,
Yes.
and Yeah, and a lot of people through COVID kind of, tapping into these gifts a little bit more and coming out of the broom closet
Yeah. Yeah.
and living in their truth, which was very much um, also in my story during
Mm,
COVID. I picked up a tarot deck and started doing readings on TikTok
yeah.
after a couple of readings with psychics telling me like you're so psychic, and I'm like, yeah, you probably tell everyone that, and then realizing um you know that it was a little bit different.
Right.
And so yeah, so that's just kind of a little snippet of how I got into tapping into these abilities and helping others.
Yeah. That is so awesome. I love it. I love the stories because it's so true. I remember growing up as a little girl, I too felt number one, not different. I didn't think that what my experiences were different than anybody else's experiences. I thought it
Hmm.
was normal to feel things differently,
Hmm.
in the sense of just that deep connection or see things or like have these vivid dreams that weren't really dreams because you were
Hmm.
awake, but it was kind of like that in between state where I would see like the universe and the stars and these lights and these spirit helpers, as you had told me in my reading. I did a reading with Travis because of course, why wouldn't I mean, everybody knows me, that's like my thing. So I was like, I sign me up, I want to do this. And those spirit helpers that you connected with on our reading, talking about how they're here on our journey with us to help guide us through. I have three of them, and I have been working on connecting with them more and more every day. I've been really like hyper focused, and maybe I shouldn't be so manic, but like really wanting to connect with them. And so
Hmm.
inviting them into my dreams and all of that, and really just trying to get as close to them as possible. But again, yeah, I felt like I had the same kind of experience, and then realizing that that wasn't like everyone's experience, you
Hmm.
kind of shut it off because it's not like encouraged or celebrated, or it wasn't for me anyways. And so you just kind of let it sit somewhere on a corner, but yet it's still just, it's there. It's always
Yeah.
there. Like you can't explain some of the intuitive thoughts that you have, and you think of somebody and they call, or you can feel what somebody's feeling, and you just know. You can't
Yeah.
explain it, you just know.
Yeah.
And learning that is a gift that we've been given, and when you start to channel that and accept and embrace it, it just seems to enhance
Hmm.
within. And
Yeah.
that's really where I started to find, same thing with COVID, that as I was more kind of like one-on-one at home, and really doing heavy meditation through some
Hmm.
stuff that I was going through, that I was starting to feel more and more connected, and things that were just happening that you just can't explain, that are just are something from a higher source. But that was when I realized that I'm not alone. I've never been alone, and that we all have this inner
Hmm.
guru inside. This inner healer, this wisdom that the universe so badly wants to connect to. Whether
Hmm.
you're a psychic, a medium, or an empath, like everyone has it, and it's just a matter of where they're at in their journey in
Hmm.
connecting to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Whenever, I'm with people who don't necessarily understand what a psychic medium does, right? Because a lot of people see something like John Edward or Teresa Caputo, and seeing that kind of that type of reading style that's done on television, they think, that's what we do. And to a degree, somewhat, um, but it's really how the best way I explain it to people is that everything in this world is made of energy, and most people agree. They're like, yeah,
right,
everything's made of energy. I'm like, okay, great. So we're there together. We
right.
understand everything is made of energy. Somebody who is tapping into psychic ability is just able to expand beyond their own energy field and tap into the energy field of others around them. And mediums, and also kind of going back to psychics, we can kind of tap into higher sources that help us see kind of
Right.
forwards, backwards, sideways, and get kind of like that 360 view. And then mediums are able to just connect to our loved ones or other energies that have crossed over,
Yeah.
who aren't here with us in the physical. And so that's the best way I try to kind of like explain some of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some of those terms, people are like, what does that even mean?
Right.
And when you explain it like that, people are like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course it does, right?
Right then.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And then, and then connecting in with your inner guru, and that kind of all-knowing presence that we all have. We can call it our intuition, we can call it our knowing, our soul, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you choose to kind of align with. And that's tapping into that infinite wisdom of the universe that every single one of us has within us.
Right.
All of us.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's the awesome sauce right there, is that we all friggin' have it. And when we can realize that as our truth and really kind of just start taking a little deeper dive within to connect to it, like, again, you're just not alone. And I feel like COVID too, again, is such a blessing and a curse, right? Like, there's so many bad things, of course, that have happened from it, but also so much good, that I feel like people are kind of coming to this point where they're realizing they were stuck, or they were in this matrix world of just, rinse and repeat, and just living for the dollar and the routine, and not really living their soul purpose, and feeling so disconnected that COVID made everybody pause.
Yeah.
And in that pause, I feel like there was this light that kind of reignited in people. And they're like, wait, what is going on? I want
Yeah.
to shift, I want to connect. And
Yeah.
what a great way to do so, because I feel like once we do connect to that, we just start raising our vibration and connecting to other people, and manifesting miracles all the time around us, and realize that we're not a product of our environment, that we can choose how we show up, and how we present ourselves in situations around us, when we can connect our internal to the external.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That time during COVID, when the stay-at-home orders first rolled
Hmm.
out almost 2 years ago,
Right.
I can't believe it. I kind of called that period like the big quiet,
Mm, mm,
and it really did. It forced a lot of people to sit with their stuff.
right.
And, because when you're at home, you can only binge drink and watch Netflix so much before
Right.
eventually you realize, like, something isn't the way it's supposed to be. Like,
Right.
something is off.
When you're binge watching Tiger King, you know something
Yeah.
just might not be.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's funny because when COVID had started, I was like a lot of people. I was like, well, I'm just going to stock up on White Claw and
Yeah.
watch Tiger King and eat everything I want. And it wasn't until I think June of 2020 where I hit a point for myself where I was
Mm,
like, I can't keep living my life like this. Like,
yeah.
not just the being at home. I love being at home.
Yeah.
I am
Right.
an extroverted introvert.
Me
Like,
too.
I loved being at home.
Me too.
All these people are like, I gotta stay home. I was like,
Yeah. This
I'll
is
take your
awesome.
time at home. Like, but it wasn't until about June where I had, I've hit rock bottom plenty of times in my life, but that was a different rock bottom.
Hmm.
That was a, it's quiet. There's nothing here to distract me. I'm not happy with my life. I've been living for this kind of fantasy of, dream job, 401k,
Hmm.
retirement, which for some people I think that's great. But I was living for those things for absolutely the wrong reasons. I was
Right.
hustling for approval. I
Right.
wasn't paying attention to how I felt, and I looked at kind of everything in my life. I was like, I don't like the person that I've become. I don't like the things I'm doing. The things in my life really aren't fulfilling. I'm just chasing something.
Right.
And so spending that time to get quiet, I had decided, I was like, it's time to get sober from alcohol.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
time to look at my friendships. It's time to look at the way that, and I looked at all of kind of like these external things. And it wasn't even really until I started really diving into like psychic and mediumship work where I was like, oh, like I got to turn all of this inward. I'm
Hmm.
like picking at these kind of symptoms
Yeah.
of a much bigger thing of and it's me. Like, oh
Yes.
shoot, it's me.
It's me. Damn it. I was gonna hope I could blame it on the White Claw.
Yeah. And and I think that moment for a lot of people can be really hard. And I
Yeah.
think when you hit that moment, you've got one of two choices: continue to stay asleep and go back into the matrix and the grind of things and just pretend like everything is fine,
Right.
or sit and face yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only one of those things leads to joy.
Amen. It's so true. Your story is so similar to mine in that sense. I was sober 3 years
Mhm.
leading up to COVID and was doing really well, and trying to juggle my corporate job because that's what I felt like I was supposed to do. But yet I had this calling within me that was so strong and getting stronger and stronger, excuse me, that I actually relapsed. And it was in that relapse, it was the biggest gift. And some people actually listening to this right now might not know because it's not something I really even talked about. Because at first I was so shameful that I was even capable of allowing myself to go back to that addiction. But it was in that I truly found my calling and my purpose, because once I drank, all of that light, all of that energy, all of that love was gone.
Yeah.
And when you have it and then you lose it, man, you sure feel it. Like you're like, whoa, something is wrong. So like I took it for granted before.
Hmm.
And then when I lost it, man, I wanted it back so bad. And it was, going back and doing the hard work. It's not easy, for God's sake, having to look inside and be like, okay, it's not, the alcohol is but the symptom. What am I trying to avoid and suppress and not look at? And it was those things that you're talking about. Like for me, it was learning that I am an empath. I would
Hmm.
say empath, like, yeah, I'm an empath because I'm so caring. Well, there's a difference between being, empathetic to something and actually being an empath, and realizing that being an empath is a blessing and a curse. Especially,
Hmm.
I feel like, depending on how you gained that tool, that knowledge,
Hmm.
that ability. For me, I think a lot of it had to do with just how I grew up, that I
Yeah.
was hypersensitive, hyper aware to my surroundings all the time, that I developed these, coping mechanisms, if you will. That's what I thought for sure it was.
Hmm.
That maybe have been a little bit of codependency. So I was like, okay, I got to work on this. I'm a codependent empath. Well, this sucks, and like really getting to the root cause of some of these things that are making us feel the way we're feeling,
Hmm.
and doing the work, but knowing that that inner guru is inside of you with all of the knowledge, like everything you have is already
Yeah.
within you.
Yeah.
If you're willing to just sit, like you were saying, sit in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talk a lot in spirituality about, you know, shifting from negative thoughts and immediately going right into positivity and, and love and light culture, which there's nothing wrong with love and light at all. Unfortunately, that term is used as a way of spiritual bypassing and not doing your work and sitting with that inner guru and inner teacher, that ultimate knowing
Yeah.
of, why is it that I want to drink? Why is it that I'm I'm overstimulating myself with sex or food or TV or going out? Like, what is it that I'm trying to avoid here? And in spirituality, we always talk about like the light and the awakening and how great it is.
Hmm.
Like, but it's never mentioned like you're gonna find yourself crying in your bathtub for absolutely no reason.
No freaking reason. You're like, okay, I don't
No
know what's going
reason.
on. Why am I sad? I don't understand.
And also that the healing the healing journey, it's always happening.
Hmm.
There are moments of time when we're in ceremony, and that is that beautiful healing process, but it wasn't until I was able to kind of sit with myself and sit with that inner teacher and that inner guru and really understand that I will never feel whole until I can love and embrace my darkness just as much as my light.
Yeah. Yeah.
That piece for me and that learning from me from that inner guru was like it was the game changer. Like I never felt whole in my life because I was always rejecting these parts of myself.
Right.
And the second I brought those parts home
Yeah.
and was like, we all live here together,
Right. Right.
I this calm, and I get chills talking about it,
Mm.
and it's this calm that just hits me of like, yeah, I am all of these things. And that's what makes me whole. That's what makes me me. And um and that feels good. It
Hmm.
feels better than playing the avoiding game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Right.
feels, and I can always tell, like I don't know about you, but I can always tell when I'm avoiding doing some like self-work.
Yep.
And then eventually the universe just like, knocks on your door
Hmm.
and it's like, "Hey, it's time to sit down, time to do some work."
Yeah.
Um, but it's a beautiful process.
It really is a beautiful process. And it's so true. It's like when you stop resisting and you start allowing that it's gonna happen, whether it happens today or 10 years from now. It's gonna
Mhm,
happen, right? Like the
mhm.
universe is constantly gonna give you more of the lessons to learn. And I had shared in a previous podcast that the answers are waiting in the lesson. So if
Yeah.
we keep avoiding the lesson, we're not going to learn what we need to learn to grow into this person we are meant to be here on this planet, right? Like,
Yeah.
we all have a gift, we all have a purpose, and all of us might have different gifts and different purposes, but they're all for love and they're all for the greater good. It's not to be suffering and misery and
Mhm.
become addicted to alcohol or drugs or sex or gambling or food or addictive behaviors or relationships or whatever. It's
Mhm.
not any of that. And that a
Yeah.
lot of that stems from our resisting and we're running
Mhm.
from, and then therefore we're looking for something to fulfill us. And
Yeah.
it's just all in us. And we just have to
Yeah.
get in there and
It
do it.
is, and it's my therapist uses the Wizard of Oz metaphor
Mm,
on me all the time.
yeah.
Um, and it's that at the end of the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy realizes that everything that she needed to go home, she had the entire time. And I think that looking outside of ourselves is very much a part of the journey
Mm-hmm.
of realizing that you have everything you need within you. And
Right.
I'm thankful for all the times I looked outside of myself for help and validation because it brought me closer to the understanding that I really do have all of the
Right.
answers.
Yeah.
But it's learning how to be still and hear those answers. And you
Mm-hmm.
can't do that when you're avoiding or filling your life with a bunch of noise.
Right. It's so
It's
true.
impossible.
I
Yeah.
love that you use that a Wizard of Oz analogy because as I was writing my notes this morning in my morning meditation messages I had written for our podcast today, you had the power all along. And I
Yeah.
was thinking of the Wizard of Oz about
Yeah.
how we have that all we've had it all along. That we're born that way, just like the tree nut, right? Like everything the tree needs to be that big, huge, amazing oak tree. It's in that small little nut, right? Like it's all
Yeah.
in there, but it's a matter of just giving it what it needs to blossom and root and
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
doing this work is so important.
It is. And it's the best work that I've ever done in my life, and it's what I'm most thankful for, is doing this work. And like, and not every day is perfect. Like I think like just 2 nights ago I was like crying hysterically for no reason
Right.
again, right?
Yeah.
And it is always a process, but it's not painful
Mm-mm.
to do it anymore. I think that the painful thing is the avoidance now.
Yeah.
The sitting in those feelings, it doesn't feel painful like it did at first.
Right.
It's more of a calm acceptance of that
Yeah.
and being in that and not needing to apply action to it, but just sitting with it.
Yeah.
And something I learned was, in order to help teach others and help others, I had to walk myself through my own healing
Yep.
to be able to walk others through. And even in my practice, I find like I've never been delivered a client that I have not been able to assist. I've never experienced something that was way out of kind of my realm of understanding.
Yeah.
And I believe that people that are on this path of healing and being a light worker and being a practitioner and being sometimes that guru for others because they
Mm-hmm.
haven't found that inner voice yet, and we're just
Right.
guiding them to it. We have to kind of figure that out before we can, help those people. So
Yeah.
um yeah, that was a very long-winded way of saying like I've also walked through my ish, and I do it
Yeah.
regularly.
No, I love how you said that because it's so true that
Yeah.
like everything that I've gone through, it was for a greater good. Just like when I think I had shared with you before, like, I didn't get sober just to be sober. I
Yeah.
went through all of that for, I believe, a higher good. And I
Yeah.
would be doing a disservice if I just lived my life going to work, pretending like what I went through and what I grew through was no big deal. It's a big deal. And when you do experience it and do the work and learn what you need to learn and connect with the people, this, the I always say, like, we're doing God's work in human form, like when you meet those people that are helping guide you along the way to find your inner guru, that,
Hmm.
oh, man, yeah, you give it back, and then the people that need it, they find you and you help them. Like, it's no coincidence that, yeah, you get customers, clients that are experiencing something that you've already gone through. You made
Yeah.
it to the other side and now you can share it with them. I've had people comment on TikTok on some of the things I've posted, because it's always, solution based spiritual healing type stuff. And
Yeah.
if they're not ready, if they're still in it, they don't see,
Yeah.
and they're like, I don't understand how this could be a blessing, or I don't understand how this could be something. What good can I do? I can't forgive myself, or whatever it be. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, well, when the time is ready and you are ready, you'll be able to see that you'll be able to help somebody else get through what you're going through right now. Or maybe
Yeah.
you've already gone through it and you're still sitting there feeling whatever negative feeling you are. And then you realize, oh, wait, I could help somebody else that's going through this tragedy, because I can tell
Mhm.
them I did too. And look at me. I made it. I'm here. Let me share with you what I learned.
Yeah.
Such a gift.
It is. It's wonderful.
A
Yeah.
gift that we all have, whether or not we can channel the past people that have gone.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody's got a gift. They're all a little different, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
use and help each other. It takes a community of all of us working together
It does.
to do
It
it, to do
definitely
it.
does.
So how would you recommend people that are listening today? Some people are probably like, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I'm an empath. I'm for sure an empath," or "I think
Yeah.
I might have this or that." How do you recommend people start if they haven't and they're really looking to start to do this work? What would you say to them?
This is no one's favorite answer to this question. But I share it anyway because it's the way that I find is kind of like the quickest way. start meditating and learning how to just be still and get quiet. And that's hard for a lot of people. And the things I typically get is like, well, I can't meditate. I have a hard time. And I'm like, I am a caffeine junkie and I have ADHD. And if I can calm down, like you can too.
Right.
But it takes practice. It's not. It's like going to the gym. You don't walk into the gym one time and then like you walk out super ripped. It's a
Right.
practice. And learning how to connect with your inner guru, it's not a one-time thing. It's a lifetime commitment.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to get, run in and get this one thing. Like your spirit's not like a 7-Eleven.
Right.
It's, it's a lifelong relationship that
Right.
you're forming with yourself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we live in this kind of like deep, heavy place all the time. I've had more joy in my entire life leaning in and doing this work than I had when I was avoiding my stuff.
Yeah.
It's so learning how to the first thing I'd say is just learning how to be still and get really quiet and quiet your mind, because we have so many things going on. We've got like the scrolling on the phone and the Netflix and stuff. And I have all that stuff in my life too. I'm not even gonna pretend like I live a life of solitude, because I
Right.
don't.
Right.
Um,
We're being real
but
here.
yeah, but taking 5 to 10 minutes out of your morning to sit and breathe and just be in your body
Mm-hmm.
is so powerful when we just focus on breath and that's it. And with meditating, you don't have to start with 30 or 45 minutes. That's super
Right.
unrealistic for a lot of
Totally.
people. 2 to 5 minutes just sitting and breathing and putting your hand on your chest and
Mm-hmm.
just feeling into that, or doing a guided meditation, is a beautiful way to start.
Yes.
Free writing and journaling as well, because here's the thing: a lot of people, myself included, when we start on this journey, we don't really know where we are.
Right.
We really, it's kind of like we just ended up in the middle of a forest somewhere and we were just dropped,
Yeah.
and we're expect to find a hidden treasure chest with no
Right.
map.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to build your own kind of map within and trust that you will find it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take time. A lot of people want to sit down and be like, I'm going to work on all of my problems and I'm going to heal today.
Right.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
It is layered and it's deep. And in giving yourself the grace to understand, like, right where I'm at today is where I'm at today.
Right.
And when we breathe into that, we do our journaling, that guru, that teacher within, that voice just starts to get louder and louder and louder, before pretty soon, when we start honoring who we are, accepting where we are, that voice becomes the dominant voice. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people's dominant voice is a voice of ego and fear
Right.
and imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And and we're always going to have that voice, but that inner guru voice really is the one that, if it is the dominant voice, can be the one that really gets you through those tough moments, that moments of imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
and fear. The inner guru and inner teacher is, that voice is it's quiet, it's not nagging, it's not filled with anxiety. It is that knowing with 100% of your being, this is the way that I need to proceed forward.
Right. Yeah.
And when you tap into that, tapping into that is better than any drug, any temporary quick fix
Yeah.
feeling that I've ever had in my entire life. And it is that sure knowing. And it takes time to get there. And some people might sit down and be able to tap into it right away. Some people might take a couple of months
Right.
or, weeks or whatever, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about, for me, it's about consistently checking in and being in my body
Mm-hmm.
and paying attention to how I feel when certain situations come up. If there's something that I don't want to
Yes.
do,
Right.
and somebody says, "Hey, do you want?" And it can be small. It can be like, "Hey, do you feel like going out to dinner tonight?" And like, how does that feel in my body?
Yeah.
Like, do I want to go be around people? Probably
Right.
not.
I don't know.
Um, but there's something that was so beautiful that I read in Alicia Keys's book.
Hmm.
And in her book, she says, in life, we make these we make these decisions that go against who we are. And these
Mm-hmm.
decisions, they're not, sometimes it's not big, they're like little tiny micro tears.
Yeah.
And eventually we get so far away
Wow.
from who we are that we wake up one day and go, I don't know who I am.
Right.
I don't know what it is I believe. I don't know what it is that I like.
Right.
But we get back to ourselves the exact same way that we got away from ourselves. And it's
Mm-hmm.
these tiny little decisions that honor who we are.
Yes, that's beautiful.
And that accepting of where we are and allowing ourselves to gently get back into that flow of just being who we are and where we are right in that moment.
Yeah.
And it is gentle. It's not this
Mm-hmm.
fight to get, I'm going to fight to get back to who I am.
Right.
If you take that approach, you're going to get so far away from who you are.
Right. Yeah.
Um, you're going to get further down the road than you anticipated. But being still, journaling, and making decisions that feel right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that, like those little spot checks or gut checks when you're asked a question to do something or show up or whatever, just to ask yourself how you feel and be aware of how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Like we're so used to just not, and we just go, go, go and don't question. We're on autopilot.
Yeah.
And like you were, referring to in that those small little tears, it's so true. And it makes me just think again about the lies that you know tell ourselves, that we start to believe they're our truth,
Yeah.
and we don't even know what our truth is anymore. Like, why don't
When
I like this or that, or why do I run from this person or that person, or just all of it? Like, you start to question.
you do. And I think one of the things that happens is that we need to find we have this need to put ourselves inside of boxes. I
Hmm.
realize this is funny because I call myself a psychic medium, right? But we have this need to put ourselves into boxes, and understanding that we are meant to change and evolve and grow,
Right.
and we pigeonhole ourselves and say, well, this is who I am and this is what I believe in, and we just do that forever
Right.
without giving ourselves the grace of like, well, you know what, this is going to change, and this is the way that I view things right now. I might view things differently in 5 to 10 years from now, and that's
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
I was actually having a really good conversation with my friend this morning about divorce,
Hmm.
and he was like, I think when you get married, you just decide that you're going to be married forever. And I was like, well, I think people go in with that intention.
Right.
I think
Right.
most people
Most people,
aren't
hopefully, that's
planning
their
on like
thought.
getting divorced when they get married.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I, but I think though that it's okay for someone to wake up and go, I'm not happy here anymore, and
Right.
part ways, right? And that's a kind of an extreme, but we do the same thing with jobs. We join a job, we say, this is my career forever.
Forever. Yeah.
And then you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I really don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. Right. No matter how old you are, like you
Yeah.
can always start over. You can always, yeah, take another
Yeah.
direction. It's okay.
Yeah. The quickest way, like when I'm in those moments and I really need to kind of connect with that inner guru, and I need that kind of insight, and if I'm kind of on the go, the quickest way I like to pull myself back into that present moment is I remind myself, one, like I am not defined by the labels and the titles I give me. And this is what's so funny about human labels, just another thing, is that our brain needs them. Our
Yeah.
brain needs them. I tell people I'm a psychic medium to like help other people understand what I do. Like
Right.
I'm just this like being that exists. Like I don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
um but this is how bad we need labels.
Uh-huh.
We need labels so bad that we gave a label to people who don't feel like they identify with a gender. We had to call these lovely, beautiful souls non-binary because we needed to give them a label
Just so
so
we could
bad.
wrap our head around it. It's like,
We had to give them
okay.
a label because they didn't want labels, but we needed a label, right?
Right.
So I remind myself, I put my hand on my chest and I remind myself, like, it's like we say with our physical bodies, like, I have an arm, I am not my arm.
Yes.
Like, so
Yeah.
I would just remind myself and I breathe and I just say, I am. And that's it.
Yep.
And I just am. And then the decisions I make from there, I find I'm able to make decisions that are more centered with
Mm,
my inner guru, with my
mm,
spirit.
that is,
And those are the things that feel good, that I feel in alignment with, and that put
yeah.
me into a flow much quicker than, well, I've got this label, so I have to do this, or I have to do that, or this person's
Hmm.
expecting me to do that. We're all the time we say, like, all of this out here matters. And that's not true. This is what matters.
Right. Right inside. Yeah.
This feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I can feel like for me, I've been making those decisions more and more conscious based, where I'm like, okay, how am I feeling in this moment? Like from the simplest things, like you were saying about dinner, it could be something just like that. If I'm not feeling it, why do I make myself feel bad for saying no, because you're
Mm.
saying yes to you. And
Yeah.
that's what's most important. You can be kind about it, graciously decline the offer,
Yeah.
but if it doesn't feel right for you, it's those small little steps that you can start to do today
Yeah.
that'll eventually guide you to that next bigger step,
Yeah.
like quitting your corporate job in an industry you've been in for 25 years to be a full on soul healing, whatever my label is going to be. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Practitioner.
Yeah. And that label will change over time too, which is even better.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. People ask me, what do you do? I don't know. I have a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You're right. It does. It changes all the time.
Yeah. All the time.
And it's okay. It's
We're
okay.
meant to change.
We're
We're
meant
meant
to
to
change.
evolve.
Yeah.
We are the only thing I take from Christianity that really resonated with me is this idea that we are created in God or the creator's image.
Mm-hmm.
God or the creator or the universe, whatever you kind of want to call or align
Right.
with, is the ultimate creator. It
Right.
is ultimate expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I truly do believe that that's what we're here to do. We're here to create, we're here to expand, we're here to there was a comment that somebody had made which I thought was interesting was, there's a lot of people who are very affluent and come from, pretty wealthy families, and they're artists and musicians, and somebody had made a comment like, well, how nice is it that that's what they get to do? But somebody came back with, they have all of the money that they need, and that's what they chose to do. They chose to create.
Beautiful. Mm.
And I think that's true about us, and we can do that work even if we aren't in the position of, being able to, you know quit our job, or leave our families, right? Because we're
Right.
stuck with our families sometimes,
Sometimes.
but we can find those ways. And it is when we tap into that inner guru and
Yeah.
say, I'm here. What am I here for? And what am I here to create? And how am I here
Yeah.
to help people, or even just help myself? And those answers become very clear.
They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they really really do, and that's I can say that with all of my soul, because that's exactly what got me to this point, which
Yeah.
a couple years ago, if you would have told me that I would be doing what I'm doing today, I'd be like, you're funny. You're funny. No, I'm not. And here I am. And people are celebrating and enjoy
Yeah.
that I'm doing it. And I'm like, okay, wow, this feels good. Like I'm
Yeah.
not crazy. But but it's true. It is. It does call to you. And being creative, I think that's the other part too, for connecting with your inner guru, is finding a creative outlet, like you were talking about meditation and
Mhm.
writing, which is such a great way to be creative. But
Mhm.
whether it be painting or gardening, or taking photos of nature, or doing anything that calls to you, picking up that musical instrument, singing, dancing, even if you haven't danced in 30 years, if that was your thing, gosh, do it, bust a move, like
Yeah.
let your soul shine through and connect, and you feel amazing, and then you're like, okay, I feel really good doing that, maybe I should do more of that.
Yeah.
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 And trust that it'll start to manifest more and more and more. And before you know it, yeah, you'll be
Yeah.
connecting in no time.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so, so much for your time. Again, I'm so, so excited to get this out to everybody, and that everybody that's tuning in now has had a chance to listen. And they obviously have realized in listening that listening to one podcast on connecting to your inner guru isn't going to do it, that they're
Yeah.
definitely going to need to put in some work, but
Yes.
give themselves some grace and connect to, other spiritual teachers like yourself that have gone through it to help guide them as well. I think that's just right there is the money, it's just like, gosh, when you can connect with people that have been there through what they're going through, that relatability and connection just, I think, amplifies it more than anything. That, you know they're not alone, but as they're trying to connect to themselves, they don't have to do that alone either. And
Yeah.
never ever should they ever. Like, you always want to be, reaching out to other people that are lifting you up and recharging your soul, and connecting to other people that are like-minded, so that you just keep on growing, because the nature of life is to grow, and if you're not growing, you're dying, and that's, I think, what was happening is everybody was like, whoa, they stopped, and they're like, what's going on? I feel like I'm dying, I need to do something. So we're pruning ourselves so that we can grow new branches and new leaves, and embrace the world the way it was meant to be lived. And that's by being the light, love and light. I say ignite, because I always want to ignite that light within us, because we don't have it if we don't ignite it, right? So
I love it.
that's my little spin on that. But I am going to, in this podcast, link Travis's your website and your Instagram. Travis Warrior Unicorn is his name on there. So you guys can reach out to Travis. He does wonderful readings. Like I said, I met with him a couple weeks ago and we did one, and it was the coolest thing. When I was done, my ears were burning red. I was so hot. I was like, wow, I had to go outside and just cool down. And for me, I'm always cold. And so I, for the first time, was like, wow, this is exciting. But,
Mm.
and ever since then, Travis, whenever I sit to meditate and connect to my spirit helpers, I get hot. Like, I just start to feel this heat. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome. So you just know.
Plugged right on in.
Yeah, right. I'm like, keep it coming. I love it. But
Yeah.
definitely, I would strongly encourage that everybody that's looking to connect with their inner guru, go take a look at Travis's website and meet with him. He will definitely give you some extra tools on your spiritual journey and connecting to your inner guru, your inner healer, because we have a lot to do out there, and the world needs a lot of love and light to shine to help other people find their way back home. And that's my mission, and I know that's yours as well, Travis. And I just, again, want to thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
So, so wonderful. We'll have to do it again sometime. I'm sure we're going to get lots of requests to go deeper
Yes.
somewhere else, so we'll have to do that. But yes, much love to you.
Thank you, friend.
Wow, wow, wow. That's all I have to say is wow. I seriously still am burning up. I am so hot. Anyways, I guess maybe I just get so excited and so passionate about this topic because it's so, so important. And I know it's helped me tremendously heal from some of those inner traumas and demons that I was fighting but was always running from and avoiding. It was the external world that I was trying to show up for all the time in a certain way, like Travis was talking about, have those labels and be this person, that I became a person I didn't even know, a person I didn't even recognize. And I was avoiding the truth. And I was avoiding those quiet moments to sit and just be and feel what I was feeling and question where that was coming from and remove those barriers that were blocking me from seeing my truth. The more we get caught up in the external world and the day to day, the less we are connected to our internal world. I've said it before, the more the external world affects you, the more your internal world needs you. That is your life force, your life source energy, prana. Prana means life. And when I had asked Travis, what's the one thing you can do to quickly get to that inner guru within? And what did he say? Meditation. I always like to say I'm heavily meditated. I meditate in the morning, I meditate in the afternoon, I meditate in between, those times as well if I need to, if I'm feeling like I'm just a little more on edge than I should be. It's a great way to just bring yourself back to source, center yourself, be in the moment where you are right here, right now. And when you do that, you're really able to connect to your truth, taking those deep breaths in and asking yourself how you're feeling in that moment, what is going on, what are your, experiences creating within you in that moment, and really just listening and pausing in that moment. It's so, so important. The external world can block us. It can block us from the truth, which is why our internal world needs more compassion, more connection to our soul self. The farther we get away from that, we start to see depression, we start to see anxiety, we start to see built up anger, we start to see this lack of self-worth, this lack of purpose. We lose motivation. We don't set our sights out on goals. We are least likely to get excited about anything. Little things that used to bring us joy don't. But when you can take those moments and breathe and meditate in them and connect to your inner guru, taking that first step is the best way to start. You got to start somewhere. And like he said, meditation is the best way to start. And after that, doing some journaling. I am going to start actually doing live morning meditations where we will be writing out our morning messages, and we'll be doing some mantras and trying to channel an intention for the day so that we start every day with purpose and passion. And this will help, I think, all of us shift into this higher self and connect with our inner guru. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. It truly was an honor and a blessing to be able to put it together for you and have it available on this very awesome, powerful day. So again, love and light ignite to you all. As I mentioned before, I've got all of Travis's information in this episode description, so you can go there. You can also go to our new website. We have a soulshackssisterspodcast.com website that's going to have all of our most recent episodes. It'll have upcoming episodes. It'll have an opportunity for you to interact more with us, ask questions, take a deeper dive within on the episode that you're really into at that moment. Drop us a line with suggestions and topics that maybe you want to hear. Because a lot of times if we have something that people are vibrating at, the universe will bring those people to me, and the messages I will download from the universe, and I'll be able to channel through that energy and put together some content that has meaning and substance and is soulful. So take a look at our new podcast. That was soulshackssisterspodcast.com. And of course, as always, you can always join our Facebook page. That's another great way to stay connected. But other than that, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. I can't wait to see what March has in store. I know it's going to be busy for me. I got lots of exciting things coming your way, and I can't wait. I can't wait to share them with you all. Until next time, have a great one, you guys. Love you all.